Not here yet.
Wish I would be late. Oh, yeah, it's not good. Recording will be still.
Right.
But we'll tell him to come, because he could.
Just about all I ought to do it anymore, Kurt.
They down there. And just. We can find a few. How's it? You're on time. I am.
I'm sure, I'm sure.
I'm not sure, he's in Florida, right now. They're in Florida. So I'm not sure, hey, how you doing? Fine, I'm not sure. What he just came up. Let's see.
I think as long as you keep it in a container.
Yes, yes. It's just. Yeah. Prices are all compared to, so today was like, oh my God.
Well, it's funny, I was sitting there yesterday, Joe, having a conversation with a squirrel. He kept barking. He was standing there, he was looking.
See how it's
And he was like, "Oh, he kept barking." I was just standing there. I said, "What are you screaming about?" Hardwood.
I got one call, I got one phone call. Got one phone call.
just.
You all right?
I can't complain. The woman is standing.
Needs like the kitchen set. It's a kitchenette. It's like, I like that, everything's loose. You know what I mean? Right. No, just come. You gotta see something. Yeah. He's been
Yeah,
on.
I'm doing it. Well, we're At this point in time, we'll call our meeting to order. Everyone, please rise and face the flag. Join me in saying of our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You can be seated. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. Appreciate that here on a lovely summer eve in July. As we look at our agenda here tonight, I'll entertain a motion to add any items that need to be added or any changes to the agenda. We do have one appointment to the Water Authority that we will be bringing up in other business. Any other changes? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda for tonight. So moved. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, show of hands, please. 5-0 on the approval of our agenda. And before you, you have the minutes of our last regular meeting from June 1st of 2021. You've had a chance to look over those. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All in favor, show of hands on that. 5-0. Thank you. Next up is our public comments on the agenda items and the agenda items only. That's only our agenda for tonight. All citizens are encouraged to comment at this time. I'll give you 3 minutes to voice your opinion. If not, we'll move on right into our own agenda items. So if anybody wants to come up and do that now, and there being no movement, we'll close that public comment and we'll move right in to agenda item number 5. And I've got just a couple of recognitions here. Nothing I have to get up and do, but I just want to recognize a few things. This past month, the Allegheny Wrestling Club or wrestling team went to the state tournament, placed 9th out of 35 teams, with Bryson Church taking 4th place. And we also had Riley Pruitt, who is our now 1A state champion. And he was also the 1A most outstanding wrestler, which is just tremendous. Tremendous. We also had our softball crew get recognized. 2 members from that team, Kenzie Lyle and Taylor Allen, all state softball members. Taylor Allen also was all district player of the year. And Kenzie was first, or the 1A pitcher of the year, along with all district pitcher of the year. And those are some high awards to win. We had a young man that finished 2nd in the state science fair, Josh Novotny, who he won a trip to, I believe it was Disney World. So we've just got all kinds of good things going on. I'd like to give a shout out to my son who went and played on the Surrey All-Star team. They finished 4th in the state in the 10 and under baseball Cal Ripken League championships in Matthews, North Carolina this weekend. So just a lot of good things. And if everybody just give those folks a nice round of applause, I think they deserve that.
Just one more, we're a month late, but I'd like to mention the Grace Community Kitchen to the Methodist Church. I believe they celebrated 20,000 free meals to folks in our community about a month ago. So a little bit late on that, but certainly want to sort of a semi-mayor's shout out to those good folks who are reaching out to the community and providing wonderful meals.
That's great. And we'll go on now to agenda item number 6. Presentation to the council. I have invited Mr. Ephraim Whitehead here, and I'll let him introduce himself and tell us what all he's got going on. Ephraim, come on up to the podium, sir.
All right. Can everybody hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
All right. First, I want to thank Mayor Brenninger for inviting me out, just the committee and council. Super excited to be here in Sparta. I'm the Center Executive Director here at Allegheny Center. I do want to say that state wrestling champ, his mom works in my community, so I make sure I keep mama happy. I don't need any part of it. But it's an honor and privilege to be here today. I came here from Rock Hill, South Carolina, originally from Jacksonville, North Carolina. We're moved around a bit. My father was in the Marine Corps for 30 years. I've been licensed as a nursing home administrator for 5 years. So excited to immerse myself in the community of Sparta. I've dubbed it the Allegheny Welcome. You know, everywhere I've been, people have been super welcoming, warm, pleasant. So I'm looking at that P right there, and hope and pleasant is definitely something that I've experienced here thus far. You know, we look with the pandemic, you know, everyone was going through an incredibly tough time, and all industry wide, and especially as you talk about serving our seniors. So huge and special thank you and shout out for the Allegheny team, the Genesis team there, the nurses, CNAs, housekeeping, dietary, everybody, you name it. If you're part of that team and organization, you know, they were grinding and working hard to serve our residents and seniors there. So now that we're back into that sense of normalcy, you know, getting visitation back in and welcome. So we're starting to feel that normal flow of things. So I couldn't be more excited about the things that are to come at the community, the center, and also just to meet and connect with the citizens and the people here at Sparta. So, you know, very appreciative and thankful for the invitation out west. All right. Any questions, comments for me?
Again, Ephraim is over here. He's the head of the Genesis home over here. And Ephraim, I believe you've got, what, 77?
77, yeah. 77 and climbing.
And people are now able to go see their loved ones over there also.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
I just thought that it'd be a good thing for Ephraim to update the people that we are moving forward, not only in our town, but in our nursing homes and our community. And brighter days are ahead.
That's it.
Just want to say welcome and glad you're here and look forward to working with you.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
If there's anything that we can do at any time, Ephraim, please call upon us.
Yeah, we'll do. Thank y'all.
And we thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Ephraim Whitehead. So next we have a utility services fee waiver request by Mr. Roger Lineberry. Roger, you can come on up to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. About a month ago, we received a bill. The first time we'd received one for Little River Primitive Baptist Church. I should identify myself, Roger Lineberry. I'm a member and deacon and clerk at the Little River Primitive Baptist Church, which is located across the road here beside C.J. Hardware. Anyway, my wife and I went and talked to Mr. Wilmoth, and since then, some of the problems or issues have already been resolved. The well casing that was sticking up in the ground and the upright metal box and the drain has been fixed real good. Grassed over, looks real good. A couple other issues, though. In the 90s, we allowed a water line to be poured on this side of the church and went to your house and went to the Calhoun property, and the meters are still there, so that's still in existence. And we don't have no trash pickup. We only meet once a month. We've got 10 active members, so I know a $40 bill don't sound like much to y'all, but, you know, it taxes a little bit. I've got a copy of the deed. This is 1956, so it needs to be amended and the 20-foot right-of-way taken off of the deed. You put in a easement's one thing, you put in a right of way, everybody adjacent owners say, hey, town's got a 20-foot right of way through there, let's just drive through there. I've got 6 copies if y'all like to see one. Anyway, you've probably seen it. But what I'd like to do is have that amended and taken off, and then maybe the easement for the upper side for the water line for those 2 meters put in there. I'd just like to see an easement. I wouldn't like to see another right of way. Like I said, I already covered, we don't have a trash pickup. And so that's pretty much what I got. But like I said, they did a fantastic job of removing the well case and the meter box. And they put me a metal grate in where the drain is, because our drain from the church goes into that. That culvert goes across the road. So that's what I got.
Mr. Lumberry, had you all paid any water bill previously?
No, ma'am.
Never paid a water bill?
No.
Okay.
It was in the agreement in 56. I guess that's when that applied. So
you got water for providing that easement? Is that what we're understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
So that's what you'd like to continue, correct?
Well, that'd be nice, yes, ma'am.
So how much, you meet once a month?
Yes, sir.
Not a lot of toilet users there, I don't guess. So, we're not talking about other than just a minimum amount is what he would be, what he has been billed.
It will be billed a minimum like all the other churches.
Which is $40 and some cents every month. For use of probably, we're talking maybe 200, 300 gallons of water, max, probably.
I think that's broke down to water, sewer, and trash pickup, right?
Correct.
Right there, that is all together. So you all haven't changed your commitment to us, and we have apparently changed our thoughts on this situation. Is that what I'm understanding?
I wouldn't say it's a thought. I think it's a legal stance. It's probably more descriptive.
Right. So
let me understand here, if the other churches in town pay and use it, but they meet on a regular basis. So what you've done is treat this church just like all the other churches, is that correct?
Correct.
And if we make an exception for one, are we opening ourselves up for exceptions for others?
I wouldn't believe that's the way it's interpreted.
but these folks gave us an easement of some sort, or 2 easements. I got lost in that a little bit.
Just about everybody in town has given us an easement. Probably most of you that sit on this council has an easement on your property for our water or sewer lines. And we don't recognize any discount or any classification of customer for an easement.
So why was this particular church not billed? I'm trying to understand why they weren't billed previously, and nothing's changed. And I understand, all churches certainly should be treated equally, but they must have given us something at some point in time for us to give them free water.
I can't speak to that.
Is it the difference between right-of-way and easement?
That's
Okay.
from what I understand from Mr. and Mrs. Lineberry, there was an agreement at some point that predated my existence,
Right.
even in life, that
Easy line.
free water and was a deal for perhaps a well structure on their property. Now that well structure has since been removed 2 years ago and taken out of service. And to the church's point, we left that in suboptimal conditions. But we have tried to rectify that over the past couple of weeks to a more suitable manner, and I hope it is. Our guys have worked hard to do that. So I can't attest to something that was before I was born.
Understand.
But going forward, I think we have to be careful how we position ourselves with this matter. And that's free water to anyone. Included in your packet is an opinion by the school government that pretty clearly spells out what the ability of the town council is to discount rates of water, to provide free water. So we in the front office and I need direction because we don't want the legalities of not following the general statute.
I understand.
If y'all want to make that decision and give us direction, we will toe that line once you provide that direction.
Do we provide water for our building that the Chamber of Commerce is using? Do we pay for that water or do they?
Pay that.
Pay for the water.
Okay.
So we're not really providing free water to anybody.
Not, we have, as of July 1, no ma'am,
That's when,
and that's according to general statute,
so that's when this started, right?
yes.
July 1.
Should have started July 1, I think y'all got a bill before July 1, didn't you? Should have started,
So how many other people did we start billing?
the wellness center,
in?
is also being billed,
Okay.
DOT.
DOT is being billed.
And I think the reason that this has come about is that we were on well water for all those years. Now we pay for every drop that we get because we are with the water authority. And I think that a few months ago, the council agreed upon paying, we're not going to give the free water no more. It's just, it has to be somebody's going to have to pay for it one way or the other. So.
Another thing, we need to go by general statutes and the policy that he put in your paper, in your packet, spells out how we can do it. It just needs to be set up by council, how they want to do it, going by what the general statutes tell us to do.
So now the bill is for water, sewer,
Trash.
Trash
and
pickup.
trash.
Yeah.
You don't have any trash.
No, sir.
Can we eliminate that part of it?
I would, if you take that stance, that's the council's decision. However, 3 months ago, we did decline a request by Ms. Wagner to eliminate her trash service. So I think we have to treat those equally.
I take your point.
I think it's gonna have to, we'll have to charge everybody. It's like, say, somebody gotta pay the water. We paid for it and gotta pay. Even though you might not use much.
Unfortunately, if there's nothing written in that deed that spells out any ironclad commitment, then we really are kind of have our hands tied, so. Would be my fault, that's just my fault.
Send the plate around twice.
Pardon?
Send the plate around twice.
I appreciate y'all's time.
I just,
Sorry, Roger.
you don't need a motion or anything with this, or this is just something that's unfortunate at this time because we do buy our water from the water authority. And if we do it for one, we're going to end up having to do it for somebody else down the road.
With the number of churches in our community,
19.
that would be a lot of free water, which could result in an increase on everybody else's water bill.
Yeah, I just don't want to be the guy to put a church out of business. So.
So we'll go down to agenda item number 8. Thank you, Roger, for coming. And we appreciate that. I appreciate what you do for our community. Number 8 is the event approval modification request. Music on Main Committee Representative, Ms. Lisa Barr.
Good evening. First, before I move into that, I do want to just say a quick thank you to Ryan Wilmoth and his staff, to the town council, and to our community, to the Sparta Police and Bob Lane for all of your support during our recent events, like the cruise in this past weekend with Music on Main. We had a huge crowd. I dare say 800 or more people was on the streets of Sparta. The cruise in parade was a huge success, and I couldn't have done any of it without Ryan and his staff and Bob, the police, and without your support. So I just really want to thank you for that. The Chamber really appreciates you being behind us on a lot of trying to bring things into Sparta that appeal not just to visitors, but to our locals. We have a lot of locals who are involved in that cruise in and who love the fact that we've brought it to Sparta. So just thank you for that. And I just also wanted to let you know that we have been able to fund almost 100% of the 4 Music on Main events through sponsorships and private donations. So we are not having to use any chamber money, any taxpayer money or anything for this. It's all through sponsorships. So we're really proud of that. And we've worked very hard to make that happen. So per the agenda, I am here tonight. Each of you have a handout in front of you. And I wasn't quite sure of the technical term to call it, so I did call it the special event permission for alcoholic beverages, beer and wine only, to be served on Main Street per guidelines below. Those guidelines are actually on an attached page for you to review. This is the Music on Main Committee. We are the organizers, Allegheny Chamber for Economic Development, and I'm your main contact. We are requesting this for the dates of August 6th, 2021 and September 3rd of 2021. And the interested parties, the reason that we're coming to request it are Laconia Ale Works and Thistle Meadow Winery, who are both local businesses. If you'll turn on your back page, I wanted to just point out the guidelines, and I want to make sure that this is duly noted. So the Allegheny Chamber is requesting that we will obtain a special one-time permit issued to us as a nonprofit to allow the retail sale of malt beverages, unfortified wine, fortified wine at a single fundraising event of that organization. Allegheny Chamber will pay for all related fees, and that's specific language from the ABC board. Any business wishing to participate by setting up within the designated area must be insured and will be required to possess an ABC permit that allows them to sell alcohol outdoors. These permits must be submitted to the Allegheny Chamber no less than 2 weeks prior to the event. At no time will any staff or volunteer of the Allegheny Chamber for Economic Development sell or serve alcohol during the event. For lack of a better word, this is considered a beer garden at a lot of events. This will be located on Main Street in Sparta. You do have a map. That is an estimated location. We're not quite sure, but we will have to go out and kind of measure for that and just see what works best. But it will be located on Main Street. We'll have one entrance. IDs will be checked by an individual 21 or over appointed by the Allegheny Chamber. No one under the age of 21 will be allowed inside the designated area without an adult present. Once ID is confirmed, a wristband will be placed on the patron that is of legal drinking age of 21. No one will be allowed to enter or leave the designated area with a cup, bottle, glass, or container of any kind. No patron will be allowed to enter the designated area if they are clearly intoxicated, slurred speech, loud or agitated speech, stumbling, aggressive behavior, and that is per ABC board recommendations. And anyone who attempts to break the above rules will be reported to local law enforcement. Participating businesses will be required and have agreed to use sound judgment in serving patrons and may verify IDs of individuals and ensure that wristbands are present before serving and may also limit number of drinks served. Allegheny Chamber and Committee will work closely with local law enforcement, and alcohol sales will end at 9:00 p.m., which is 1 hour prior to the event, to the end of the event. I really want to be very clear about this. This is not a free-for-all. This is not people walking around Main Street with a red Solo cup, drinking any drunkenness, public display of drunkenness. This is a controlled environment. We currently have 5 restaurants on Main Street that sell alcohol, and they are able, people go in there, you can eat, you don't have to drink, you don't have to go to the bar. It's in a controlled environment, and that's what we want to provide by doing this beer garden. We want to give Thistle Meadow Winery and Laconia an opportunity to be part of Music on Main. And for me, my reputation's at stake, the chamber's reputation's at stake, and the town of Sparta's reputation's at stake. So we will take every precaution to ensure that it remains within that designated area, that no one is walking around Main Street with an open container or any container that's coming from us or from that beer garden per se. We will follow every ABC rule, your rules, everything we can to keep people safe and responsible for these events on Music on Main. Any
Where are you thinking
questions?
about having this designated?
Well, if you look on your map, I think it'll be either, we're looking at perhaps on the south end of town, perhaps some, I really don't know, John, to be quite honest with you. We have to go out there and we have to measure and kind of see, because we do have a food truck coming in. We have some people wanting to set up tables. So I think we're meeting as a Music on Main committee on Monday, and I think we will draw out a map then. But I assume that it'll be closer to First Community Bank on that end, or if it's on the other end of town, it'll be closer, like maybe somewhere between maybe around the chamber, or maybe even past the chamber and on past Muddy Creek. Trying to keep it away from some of our other restaurants, not to bother their business as well. Or it may be on the other side of the street. I just think we need to kind of measure and see where it's best suited. And that's also, we have to have that in place before we can even apply for the permit from the ABC. So we won't be able to do that if that's not in place.
Couple of quick questions.
Sure.
Ms. Lisa, looks like you've been very thorough in planning this, and I certainly will appreciate that. Now, as you said, your reputation's at stake. Our reputation's at stake as well.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, I'm more concerned about liability.
Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
we have ordinances that prohibit open containers in our town. So we've already made that, had that, put into law. Now, you mentioned that someone would be monitoring this site to make sure that no one that was intoxicated was served and this, that, and other. So that's fine too, although I don't know exactly who those people would be. Of course, Laconia and Thistle Meadow would be responsible.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
guess their permits would hold them responsible and
Yes,
liable
ma'am.
if something happened to them.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, but that begs the question, at what point if something does, and certainly you've made every effort to have this organized and controlled, and kudos to you on that, but at what point if something does go awry, and we did have a very tragic situation 3 years ago where there was someone who attended the Music on Main and then unfortunately was involved in an accident later on that night. Now, at what point can we have an assurance of some sort that we're not liable? And I guess, Whitney, that would be a question for you. At what point can we, this is still the town, this is our jurisdiction, and at what point can we say unequivocally that we are not going to be liable if something does go awry? That would be one question. The other restaurants in town, which you mentioned, they are permitted to sell alcohol in their establishment and on the sidewalk. Is that correct? Am I correct? in that?
I think they have to have a special permit to serve alcohol outdoors. So those
Okay.
restaurants, and that same would apply to Laconia and to Thistle Meadow Winery. They both have those permits.
Okay.
And
Although
every
they don't-
event is insured by the Chamber of Commerce, and
Okay.
this would be an added rider to that insurance
Right,
policy.
And that's good.
And they are also required to be insured and have alcohol liability. And they are responsible for who they serve within that beer
But at the
garden.
end of the day, as everyone is fond of saying these days, at the end of the day, if something did happen and something went awry, they could, and Whitney, please stop me at any point if I'm completely off base, they could come back and hold us responsible and hold us liable. Yes or no?
We required whoever sponsors the event to have insurance. That's a requirement.
Correct, but in the worst case scenario,
Oh, sure, any worst case, anybody.
we're not completely free of any liability if something goes awry.
We would, if we were to be sued, or we would be brought into, I'm sure, but that's
And-
gonna be in any
Well, that's
situation.
true, but we're just talking about this particular
Yeah.
situation involving alcohol, and as I said, we did have a bad situation. I'm,
Ms. Richardson, may I ask you a question? when you say that the accident was from someone on Music on Main, but do we know that that person was overserved at Music on Main, or was it in a restaurant? Do we
I
know?
think there was discussion about whether or not at a private, it was during the Music on Main, but probably at a private business, a private restaurant. And obviously there was no suit that came from that, so apparently.
So that would be a restaurant's responsibility to whether
Correct,
they
correct.
serve or overserve
So
someone.
that could happen any night.
It could happen any night, certainly, but I'm just a little bit, concerned. And you all have gone to great lengths to have a nice thing, and that, as I said, certainly that's being very responsible, and that's good. But at the end of the day, if something does happen, I think it needs to be noted that we could end up being sued for something, and we do have a very strict on any other night of the week, any other day of the week. If Mr. Lane sees somebody going down the street, walking down the street, carrying an open container, then that's, against the law. So those are just some things to ponder, and I I feel a little uneasy about it for that reason, but that's my
Okay.
point.
Duly noted. Yeah.
I would just like to say, everybody around us is doing this. Independence, Mount Airy, Galax, Jefferson, I mean, everybody. And we can either move forward or we can be stuck. This isn't like days of old. As a kid who was a product of growing up in bars, I've seen the product of old, and this isn't it. These are different times than what most people in town associate alcohol with, whether it was the Bronco or Hillbillies or the pool room, whatever it was. This is totally different. With that being said, I would motion to approve.
Before you take a motion, I'd like to say this, that having a dear friend of mine who is a town manager at Emerald Isle told me he had this happen in his town. They had music and alcohol on the streets. The former mayor's daughter stepped off a curb, broke an ankle, sued the town. This is what you guys have to decide, is if this is something that you want to step into. Because if evident, as my job is for the best interest of the town, as is yours. This is something you guys need to think about and weigh heavy on, because anything can happen at any given time, whether it's alcohol related or not. But do we take that step forward to intensify it or increase the chances? I don't know. That's up to you guys, and that's something that you all will have to decide.
Mr. Mayor, may I make one comment based on your comment there? This is not people wandering around the street with alcohol. This is in a controlled environment.
Right.
This is people checking IDs, wristbands, not allowing anyone in or out of this designated area. It's a roped off area. It's not people walking around the streets carrying open alcohol. And if they do that, it's not going to come from us. That'll be from somewhere else.
But here's my other thing, to your point, that I have seen over the years and even witnessed with my own eyes, is when people go to events, sometimes that they like to bring their own coolers to their cars, and they get what they can there, and then it's back to the car and then back to the street.
Well, people could do that now. It's no different.
Absolutely.
They could do that
So-
by going into a
So
restaurant.
they could sue us now, just like they could sue us if we do this. It's no different.
Okay.
Now-
I mean,
now-
Cole has a motion, I'll second it.
a motion and a second.
I've got Mr. Mayor's comment. As it stands now, if someone has an accident or whatever, at this point in time, if they go to one of the restaurants in town, then that clears us of any liability whatsoever. If they go to a restaurant who has their ABC license and they walk out and they have an accident or they get in their car, we have no liability. Now, this does put, and as a good friend of mine, Billy Maxwell, used to say, the devil's in the details. This puts us in a position of being liable if something does go bad, and certainly it could happen any night. It could happen any time. But by taking this step, and we discussed at length a moment ago, precedent, if we do this for you all, that if the Arts Council decides they want to do something and then somebody else comes and so before you know it, we've got this going on repeatedly, which means our chance, our liability, putting ourselves in a position of risk is going to grow exponentially. So if we do this, then we are opening a door that I personally don't feel comfortable with now. That's my, speaking from myself and having dealt with legal issues in the past, I don't think it's a good idea.
Okay. We do have a motion
Sorry.
and a second. You got something?
What's your thoughts on it?
I think that falls on the council, to balance both sides. I think the chamber has went through great lengths to create an environment that limits and controls probably to the best that it can be if the council chooses to allow it. That is something that the council has to decide. I don't think, and I'll defer to Whitney for legal advice because I'm not an attorney, but I don't think that allowing or disallowing puts anyone in this room more at stake legally because you approve or don't approve. Whoever is hosting, whoever is serving, certainly is responsible through a whole myriad of legality through the ABC permitting process. Whitney, if there's anything you want to add to that?
Mr. Willis, Whitney just mentioned, just told us a moment ago that we can get sued.
Well, you can get sued for.
Correct, but this.
Okay, question.
We have a motion and a second on the floor, so I want to go ahead and get this out. Motion and a second. All in favor, show of hands, please. And all against, 4-1.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Up next, we have on agenda item number 9, the ABC board appointment, and I'll let the town manager, Ryan Wilmer, talk about that.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, the ABC board notified us that they had a member whose appointment was up for renewal, and they have recommended that Teresa Woodle be reappointed to the ABC board for the term of July 2021 to June 30th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, show of hands, please. 5-0, Teresa Woodle back on the ABC. We have a fiscal year 2021 budget amendment, number 3, request. Ryan, you want to go into that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, in your packet is budget amendment number 3 for fiscal year 2021. This is to clear up the end of the year, to balance any lines that are out of spending. It does not change the bottom numbers that were approved by the council as part of that budget. It does just balance inside those departments. I will note that as part of our good fiscal management this year, we did have some funds remaining, and we opted to pay our obligation to Allegheny Hospital off 2 years in advance. As construction is progressing up there, we felt they may need access to more funding, and instead of delaying our payment, we went ahead and paid our last 2 initial payments. So that is the largest portion that you will see in that budget amendment. With that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Does this clear up anything, Peggy? I mean, clears up all the
Yes.
line items and all that stuff.
Yes.
So you need a motion. I'll make that motion.
A motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Show of hands, please. All in favor? 5-0 on that.
Mr. Mayor, I would call the council's attention to their financial report that was included. Our finance officer, Ms. Choate, has reconciled as much as she can with the end of the year numbers. That is not an audited balance, obviously, but that is a good gauge of how the town performed and how we will end up come audit season. So I would like to thank Ms. Choate for her diligence in managing the town's money, doing so with true earnest, and all the staff that helped us get to that point.
Looks like we took in more than we expected and spent less than we expected. Is that about right?
Yes, sir.
Except for water that was mainly due to the park bill.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Thank you.
That's all, Mr.
Thank you.
Mayor. Sorry.
You want to go into agenda item number 11? Go ahead if you want to.
I will. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council also included in your packet is a resolution accepting the American Rescue Plan Act funds. As you're all very much aware, President Biden passed the American Rescue Plan back in March, which allocated money to state, county, and municipality. We are set to receive some of that funding, approximately $500,000. That number is still somewhat moving. In order to satisfy state requirements for accepting federal grants, this council has to approve or has to pass a resolution to accept that funding and direct the finance officer to perform any duties in accepting that. And that is what your resolution includes.
Move.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, no any discussion on the resolution, certainly that's needs to be done. The League of Municipalities has had an excellent course on the American Rescue Plan Act, and I didn't sit in on that class and all, but for anybody that's interested, you can pull that up and review it. It's explicit about what we can do, can't do, how we can use this money. So if any of the other council has questions, of course, the League of Municipalities has excellent resource for anything and everything, and I'm certain that Mr. Wilmoth and everybody else goes to them for direction. But if you have any questions about how it can or can't be used, you can learn more there, and I'll shut up.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor, show of hands on the resolution, please. 5-0.
Great resource.
And we'll go into number 12 there if you want to.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and if I may and the council's okay, if we can do 12A, B, C, and D together in one motion, they all tie together, so it will make it a little more on point. As we discussed during our budget work sessions, the town had applied for an asset and inventory assessment for our water and sewer facilities and our infrastructure. We were successfully awarded $280,000. $130,000 that's for the water side, $150,000 is for the sewer side. So that will allow us to get a good inventory and an assessment on our current infrastructure status, needs, budgeting, etc. can come from that. As part of that grant, the governing board does have to accept those grant awards. So that is your two resolutions. One is for water, one is for sewer. And as part of that $280,000, there are nominal payments that the town does have to make back in the form of grant applications. Those are included in your packet for water or for sewer. It's $2,205. And I think for water, it is in the amount of $1,950. So roughly $4,000 for a $280,000 grant, I think is a pretty good deal. So as part of that, we will need approval to pay those funds as they were not included in the original budget. the last piece, anticipating these projects would be funded. The town put out an RFQ for engineering services to complete this project. This council awarded that to McGill and Associates out of Hickory. They then provided us with professional services agreement, which outlines the work that they are going to do for both water and sewer side. So I need authorization to sign those agreements and allow them to begin their work on both water and sewer grants. We have 2 years to complete these, but I think if we work in earnest, we will be in good shape for next budget year to discuss kind of what we found and where we're at. So I would recommend the council accept the grant funding, approve us to pay the state for the grants, and accept the scope of work by McGill for both water and sewer.
You do it all in one motion.
Please.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion or questions? All in favor, show of hands, please. 5-0.
Get your drink of water.
I'm one.
Yeah, we'll let him take a swallow of water here before we move into the Sturtevant House bid consideration. And I'm gonna let Ryan continue on.
Council, as you're all well aware, for about the past 4 months, we've been trying to figure out how to successfully and appropriately dispose of the Sturtevant House. We did open it up for bids mid-May, and it closed July 1 at 3 o'clock. There was no bid submitted. So we feel that we ran it in the newspaper every week from the time we posted until it closed. We posted online. So being no interest, we had one individual come look at it, but he left implying he had no interest in pursuing any further. So we essentially had no interest in the structure. We need some guidance on where the council.
Originally, we were gonna ask the fire department to burn that, correct?
That is correct.
So since we have no interest in moving it, I'll make a motion that we do that.
Motion to burn.
How much is it gonna cost for the fire department to burn it?
Just training for all 5 water departments in the county.
There was a mention of $8,000, $7,000, $8,000 prior to the burning, so we're gonna be out on top of the 80-some thousand we paid for the property. We're gonna spend $8,000 more for.
That's for asbestos.
And that is not a firm number. I'm not an asbestos expert, so I can't provide for how much is in there and how much is not. I think we're well within that budget. But that is a requirement that we have to meet to dispose of that.
We need to get this done. So my motion stands.
That John's motion, we need to add that everything we can strip off the house
I was
is
gonna-
salvageable.
I was gonna mention that,
Okay
yeah.
with that.
because
I'm okay with that.
there's
Okay
new
with
doors,
that.
new windows, there's a lot of stuff.
Have a
I'll
motion.
second his motion.
And a second. All in favor, show of hands, please. 2, 3, 4, and all against, 4-1. At this time, we'll turn it over to our Councilwoman Millie Richardson for her discussion on town website.
And you gentlemen are going to be thrilled and elated to know that I would like to table the website discussion until next meeting. I'm still doing a little more research on that, so I can hear you under your breath going, thank goodness. So the only thing I would like to discuss, and we have discussed this several times before, Ryan, I think probably before you came, there's a situation with a Facebook page, and whether we like it or not, social media is a huge force in our community and in every community. Now, there is a Facebook page that's called What's Happening in Sparta. And judging from the interactions and discussions on that page, a lot of folks who are not from here assume that that is put out by the town of Sparta. Obviously, it's not. The Facebook page administrator has allowed several discussions to over the past 3 years where the town's been trashed and crucified for bad water and different things, and never once has the administrator ever referenced us or called us to clarify anything, and just pretty much let it run its course and run wild. That seems to obviously be the trend in social media. However, we have a responsibility as a government entity to protect our brand, and our brand being our name. Now, that is our property. That is something that we have an obligation to protect that. So I feel that this is detrimental to our brand. It's detrimental to our town. I know of several instances where discussions have ensued and people said, well, if that's the way the people are here, I don't want to come here. I had a close friend who, someone from a foreign country was looking for information on their family. And so everybody popped up and said, oh, well, I know this people that lived here, they lived on this road and so forth. And when that person approached the administrator to take that thread down, they refused again. So it's not a good thing. It's not reflecting well on our town. And so what I would suggest in making in the form of a motion, if you all agree, is that we should have our council send a letter, a stop and desist letter, either change the name of it. You could have what's happening in our community, whatever. But I think it is imperative that our name be taken off of that Facebook page because it's not our Facebook page and it's not been beneficial to our town. Now, we also, on the other side of that coin, we need to have a Facebook page. And the former manager said, we don't want to do that. It's too expensive. We're going to have to pay somebody to monitor it, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's not expensive and it's not a big deal, but we do need to have our own page. And I think the mayor on numerous occasions has tried to go out and give accurate information and debunk some of these things. And that's not his job either. You know, that's not his job either. He's got a lot of other responsibilities. So I just feel it's going on and it's a very bad situation and we need to act because we need to protect our brand. Now, anybody else throw in what they're saying?
So what does the website say they are, the town of Sparta?
What's happening in Sparta?
What's happening in
And the
Sparta?
average citizen Googles Sparta, whatever, this page comes up. There's misinformation. There's a lot of.
I don't see where you can do anything about that.
I'm not
Sir,
sure.
we have
I
to
don't-
protect our brand. We have legal
Really?
rights, do we not?
I don't,
I
I
don't
can,
think using the word Sparta is not a,
So
I mean, that's a place, it's a geographical
that is, but it
place.
is also, in addition, it is our brand. We are the town of Sparta.
Well, we
Now,
could
this-
ask them to put up a post that they acknowledge they're not
The official,
representing the
yeah.
official town council of
Well,
Sparta.
that would be the
but-
least.
I think if
Yeah,
they
I don't-
used the Facebook page Town of Sparta, then we would have a dog in
Yeah.
that fight.
Yeah.
But I think the simple answer would just be to have a Town of Sparta Facebook page.
And-
it's
But I think if
recognized
you want
as
to
the
post on there as a
government
council
page.
member and say,
It's not
This
my,
is not the
it's
town.
not my place as a council member to go on that site and try to explain to the general public that this is not our site. It's our place to have them, at the very least, put a disclaimer on the page that this is not representative, this is not representing the town, the municipality of Sparta, North Carolina.
if
This
they
is-
are representing themselves, I haven't seen that they are saying they are the town of
But the
Sparta.
public thinks that
Well,
it is
the
us.
public thinks a lot of stuff on Facebook.
Well, so we're just
for
gonna let them
goodness sakes.
continue to trash our town and not do
The
anything about it.
public I'm a part of knows that page is not representing
you
the
live
town
here.
of Sparta.
There's several thousand people on this site that don't live here. So it would be like me putting up a site that says, what's happening in Chicago, Illinois? And I could put that up
You can put
and I
that
could
up.
answer questions about Chicago, Illinois, but I don't know anything about Chicago.
But they're
Illinois.
also not gonna be able to make you take that down.
So you're saying from a legal standpoint, we can't protect our brand?
You can if you wanna create your own site and call it the town of Sparta, but you can't shut
But
theirs
you
down.
we can't even ask her or force her or gently persuade her to put a disclaimer that this is not representative of the town of Sparta.
I think you could ask her to, sure.
Well, I think you could write a letter.
I don't think I'm gonna send a threatening letter out to somebody on social.
I'm not
media.
saying a threatening letter. I'm not sending it on social media. I'm saying sending the individual a letter and asking them nicely to put a disclaimer on here because they've trashed the town on
I
numerous
don't
occasions.
think that's a legal position, but if the council, the town wants to ask them to identify that they're just a group of citizens that live here, that like Sparta, and they like to talk about it, that's fine. But I don't think it's illegal. This is not a legal
I
issue that
just-
I need to get involved in.
Me personally, having dealt with this before, I think there's no way that you can ask anybody to do anything on Facebook because that's a freedom of speech thing and they monitor it. I mean, they do their own thing. And yes, to your point, I have put out many fires. But I just don't know how else we can, if we did put a Facebook page out there, we are going to have to monitor that one also because it's going to be open to the public also. And they could put the same negative comments on our page that they put on that page. That's just the way it works. And
So we've spent over $500,000 in the past 5 years for the Chamber of Commerce, Authentically Allegheny, for the SRC, all these different things. We're continuing to support these organizations to support tourism and all those things to try to put our best foot forward, put our best face out there. And you all don't feel that we should take this one step to stop something that is
I don't
detrimental.
think we can, Millie. That's what I think.
We can write a nice little letter and say, we would appreciate immensely that you all do this. And put up our own Facebook page. Or
So just for clarification, the What's Happening page our goal is to inform fellow citizens and visitors about what's happening in Allegheny County, help us by sharing events, news, ideas, and other important information. They're public. It doesn't say government. Nowhere do they say that they represent the town of Sparta. I don't think that there's anything that as a governing body that we can do legally.
So why did they put Sparta in the name of it?
Because that's where it's located. That's what it's about. What's going on in
Place.
Sparta.
Yeah.
Well, it says there that it's about Allegheny County, so why did they single out Sparta?
Well, we always say, I say it personally,
Yeah.
Sparta's Allegheny and Allegheny is Sparta. They're
So
interchangeable.
you folks don't feel that we need to do anything to protect.
I didn't say that, Millie. I said I don't think we can.
I think
There's a
we can write a letter and ask
I think the
them
answer
nicely.
is to create a government Town of Sparta
Well,
Facebook
that's
page, and that is the end all.
Well, that would be an excellent.
And
first thing.
then,
And then somebody's gonna have to monitor it and respond and
This
have a job.
this is my
doing it.
suggestion is we could create a Facebook page
Correct.
and try to just put on there the link to our official website. Don't have to put nothing else on there. That when they go to the Facebook page, it says Town of Sparta, North Carolina, our link to our website, bam, it goes straight there.
and to one further than that, we could even turn off comments to the page. And it could just be strictly informational. You know, if there's a water line busted on 18, put it out. If the water report, put it out, because not everybody reads the paper. And then if somebody has a question, that group on Facebook has a place to point them. Say, well, go to the Town of Sparta page, it's on there. Or if they go there and there's nothing there, they click on the website and it's on the website. But I think the answer to the problem is create a Town of Sparta Facebook page.
I kind of like what Wes was talking about there, you know, you could have that, a Facebook page and then have that directed to the website, to the town website. And that's all you gotta do, and that way you don't have to monitor it or anything. It sends people automatically.
I mean, I don't know any other way. That would keep the comments off the website, off the Facebook page, and it automatically shoots you to our page where all the information about Sparta is there. I
So
mean, I don't know.
you all don't even feel comfortable with Whitney sending a nice letter, asking them nicely to put a disclaimer, this does not represent the town of Sparta, blah, blah.
I don't think we can, because nowhere do they say that they represent the town of Sparta.
Lisa, what do you want to say?
I know it's not my turn to speak, but if I could, to Millie's point,
We have the same issue, Millie. I mean, we try to represent Allegheny County in a certain way, in a certain light, and Sparta in a certain way, in a certain light. And other Facebook pages, there's several out there, actually. There's, Allegheny in the Know. There's What's Happening in Sparta. There's Discover Allegheny. There's probably 5 or 6 of them out there. Some are not as active as this one that you're referring to. Legally, I don't believe there is anything that you can do at all. The stance that we are taking is that we put as much information, accurate information, about what's going on in Sparta and Allegheny on our Facebook page. Make sure that it's timely. Make sure that they know we're reliable, that we're not a rumor site, that we don't tolerate this bickering back and forth, that we're credible.
Right.
And I believe you all do. There is a Town of Sparta Facebook page. There's nothing on it. But there is a Town of Sparta Facebook page someone somewhere along the way created. It is on Facebook, but there's no content. On a business page, you cannot block comments. You can't block comments on any Facebook page, especially personal pages. But for a business page, what you can do is that when someone comments, you can decide which ones to post and which ones not to. Again, that takes someone to monitor that and decide, okay, I'm going to let this comment happen. I'm not going to let that comment happen. It's a lot of work,
So
trust
if we
me.
post stuff and then nobody comments, or somebody comments,
Right.
it doesn't have to be approved, and it'll just.
It'll just be in la la land. Something that we do is that if someone, luckily we've been very fortunate not to have anyone comment too negatively on anything we've posted, but if it contains certain language or certain,
Red flags.
I delete it. It's our page. I can delete it. And I can also then contact that person and say, if you'd like to come in and speak to me personally about your concerns, I'll be glad to do that. But I think the most important thing is that if you do have a Town of Sparta Facebook page, is that it is for information, that you sell it as something that's accurate, up to date,
Exactly.
and the real deal.
Our brand.
Yeah,
Well, here
your
it
brand.
is. It's right
So,
there.
yeah.
On Facebook. Town of Sparta already got a page.
So we don't know who put it up, but somebody needs to be.
Somebody's monitoring this thing.
Well, that's interesting. Today's just been a walk of discovery, hasn't
But
it?
it does have our phone number on it, and it has that we're closed right now, and
Well, okay, that's,
so there it is.
so I guess somebody needs to, look up, see what's the deal on that and who's, we gotta do something. I mean, we gotta protect the brand.
We have 178 people that follow that page.
Mr. Mayor, if I can offer
Yes, sir.
a couple comments. Certainly agree the town of Sparta needs to do everything within its capabilities and power to promote ourselves in a positive, factual, professional manner. And I think reaching out on social media and displaying factual information is probably the easiest way to get that. We have to market the town of Sparta. The only thing that I would request before the council decide to enact a Facebook page, we as a government entity are bound by freedom of information and record retention.
That is correct.
Anything we publish, any dialogue that occurs, we have to be able to retain that and produce that in a manner defined by FOIA. So in a timely manner, it has to be complete and accurate, or we are subject to some penalties. Before we dive headstrong into that, I think Whitney and I probably need to understand what that FOIA implication, what those record retention comments, what's included, what's not. So I would recommend we have a full understanding of what that looks like before we put anything in motion. I would say Lisa and her team do a good job. So perhaps we could post on our website that our official social media presence is handled by and link the Chamber of Commerce to acknowledge that we do have an official presence, but it is handled by that entity.
That's a good suggestion, but that's not a complete suggestion, a complete solution, because someone may go to our website and want to ask something that has absolutely nothing to do with what Lisa and her folks are doing. So we can't beg it off on them. What they're doing is great, but we still have an obligation to be able to respond to people's factual questions, concerns, et cetera. And I think if you and Whitney want to review this, table it till next meeting, and we'll just go from there, would be my suggestion at this point.
I will say the chamber is more than willing to submit information to the public for the town. So if you do have notices, if you have something that you would like to get out to the community, you're more than welcome to send that to me and I'll post it to you.
Certainly, but it's,
Not only our page, but drop in Allegheny, it's any other pages that we have, it's just an urgent need. I don't mind doing that.
they certainly, we appreciate that, but still, you can't take responsibility for running our Facebook page.
But Millie, there's hundreds of social media platforms. Facebook's just the only one you spend time on. There are others there are hundreds of social media platforms that can say bad things about us that other people follow. We can't get in the business of just managing all these social medias. There's hundreds of them.
So you're saying there could be people talking about the town of Sparta on hundreds of
There
different
are
social-
people
They
talking
are,
about the
yeah.
town of Sparta on hundreds
There
of
are,
others.
there's.
There for
hundreds
sure
of-
are.
So,
Facebook is
so,
just,
so you're saying that the best defense is nothing, do nothing?
no, I just think this has been
Everybody
going on for years and years. It's just,
continue. And I understand
it's in
it's been
your
around for years,
face.
but I haven't been able to get any traction with anybody to do anything about it. So, if you all don't have a problem with this continuing, I think at the very least we should have a Facebook page, as Mr. Edwards suggested. And that is the more popular one in our community at this point in time. So I would say that at the very least, if you all need to do a little research about the Freedom of Information Act, I understand that. We can come back to it next month. Whatever you all want to do.
Just one last question. If you put out notices and somebody commented on it, you could just contact the Sparta office at 372-4257.
I was, a part of my job and what I was hired to do is monitor our Facebook page.
Right.
And that's part of is responding to people. And if they comment, that would, that could be, actually, you can put in automatic replies to certain comments that.
Right.
So, I mean, that would simplify the need. And
I think it's
If-
more some discussion, which we can do later on.
if a notice went out and it was an automatic reply on that post for
Right.
contact the town office, then that answers the question. And if somebody doesn't want to do that, then that's their
Right.
fault to be misinformed.
Right.
I'd be willing to speak about that, sure.
But I
Okay.
So, you want to table this and let them find out some more
I think
information
so,
about the
if you
freedom?
all agree. I think we
Is
should.
that okay with the
look at it.
council to table this to the next meeting? And we'll let Ryan and Whitney see what they can do. So we'll table that also. So table both those and we'll go into our manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, the first item under my report included in your packet was an outline of a parcel that the town currently owns. It was the site of an old well that, from the best of our records, has not been in service in over 15 years. It is completely disconnected from our distribution system and no longer is on the state record. What this .2 parcel does is it maintains an easement through a piece of property where improvements for business purposes are occurring. And this easement is quite problematic as they expand their business, because that easement does inhibit them from doing some things that they want to do. So to rectify that situation, the owner has requested that the town sell that piece of property to him. And unfortunately, we can't direct negotiate with this individual because it is real property. So we will have to do much like we did with Sturdivant House, put it out for a bid and accept bids for anyone that is interested, and then let the council decide. So I would recommend that we declare this parcel surplus as it no longer serves any function for the town, and we dispose of it by sealed bid for a period of 30 days as required by general statute.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, show of hands. 5-0 on that.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, item B, just a quick update from last month. You heard a presentation about our earthquake recovery to our sewer infrastructure, that we were very close to getting that project out to bid and going so that the necessary repairs could be done. As we push that project closer to being engineered and ready for a bid, the state actually decided to take that project back in-house. They will fully oversee that project. Funding will pass directly from the state to the contractor. So the town has kind of been removed from that process, which is, in my opinion, beneficial to us. It alleviates a lot of time between Peggy and I trying to balance funds and keep up with stuff. So the state has taken that on. They've identified a contractor, Lock Lane Construction, which done our booster pump station over at Crestview, and they were also the contractor that did the fairground sewer project for emergency housing. So very reputable, but that project is moving forward, and Lock Lane was in town today actually clearing some of the sewer line so that they can start construction on that. Nothing else about the project has changed. Still 9 to 10 months, very extensive improvements, but that project has been removed from the town. Any questions on that process or how we got there? Another item from last month, the council approved to purchase a chassis for our ton dump truck. Just to let you all know, new equipment, especially vehicles, is hard to get a hold of. We were unsuccessful in procuring a chassis during the previous fiscal year. We're waiting on chassis to be released and become available, at which point we will come back and make another request as it's now in the new fiscal year. So unfortunately, we didn't hit our target on that, but it was strictly a vehicle access that prevented that from happening.
Mr. Wilmer,
Yes, ma'am.
there's a website called Truck Paper. Covers the whole country. You can go in there, you can get light duty, medium duty, heavy duty, whatever. Shows what trucks are available all over the place. You might look at that, just, some of them they're used, some of them are used, some of them are near new. It's a very fascinating resource, and you might be able to find something a lot quicker. It's called Truck Paper.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. And the last item I have is for events. The Lions Club would like to do a can shake on July 16th from 3 to 5, July 17th from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the intersection of Main Street and Whitehead Street. And they will need approval from the council to conduct that.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, show of hands for that. 5-0 on that.
Mr. Mayor, that's all I have.
To include other events that we have coming up, we have the 3-day road market that will be coming up here very soon on the 23rd, 24th, and 25th. And that's another event, DW Miles, that 100-mile road market. So we encourage everybody to come out for that. We also have the last Saturday in July, The 24th will be, well, actually the 31st, excuse me, Music in the Park again will be over there once again in Krause Park. In other business, we need to talk about the Water Authority appointment. If you want to.
That's correct, Mr. Mayor. Council, we have a seat on the Virginia Carolina Water Authority that was occupied by John Brady. He is the only remaining original member of that
That's true.
authority. His appointment expired June 30, 2020, and we need to appoint a new member of the governing body to that authority. And I do think Mr. Brady is willing to serve another term if that's the pleasure of the council.
I am.
Make a motion to put John back on.
Have a motion and a second before he changes his mind. A show of hands. Unanimous 4-0. Thank you, John, for that. Appreciate that. On that other note too, the election deadline for filing for mayor of the 2 town council seats is July 16th at 12 noon. So you can go down and file for that. If you're interested, the election will be held in November in the elections office in the county building. It is open now, so you need to go file in the next little while.
Not technically, not now, not.
But, got that. I want to thank everyone that come out for our 4th of July events. Fireworks was a success. Parade was, I've heard it was the best it's ever been. So many thanks to many volunteers that made these events happen, and we appreciate all that they have done. Just a quick note about the Earthquake Relief Fund. As you can see right here, the Earthquake Relief Fund is helping a lot of folks. We are helping as many people that has come forward. And if you still have issues with earthquakes that has happened or aftershocks, please see Dana up at the BDC with the earthquake assistance people here are here from Raleigh. They're going to be here for quite a while. The income has changed, so they have some different numbers. If you didn't qualify the first time around, please go check with them again because you may qualify now because they have changed it. There being any other business from the council at this time? None. We'll open up the floor for public comment. And this public comment, you can comment on anything that's happened here tonight that was on the agenda. If you want to bring up something for later, you can. But I'll open the floor for public comment at this time.
Didn't want to get out of here without giving a special thanks for John and his team down at the Allegheny Inn. When I did come down here, so I spent 30 days at the Allegheny Inn, 5-star service from each and every person there. So super thankful for John and his team. So fellas, if you end up in the doghouse, you got a place to stay, or if you want to be a tourist in your own town, phenomenal service there. And I appreciate everyone down at the Allegheny Inn, and Mayor Brenniger, thank you once again, and also the council. Appreciate y'all's warm welcome.
Thanks for sticking out there, Efren. Welcome to Sparta. You stuck out the whole meeting. That's good. That's good. Well, as for council member comments at this time, and I'll start down here to my left with Cole Edwards.
Okay. Try to make it quick. First, same thing Wes said. Thanks to everybody who was a part of any event that was going on throughout the county. If you ventured out in the county anywhere, you found something to do, I think. Everything was a success. The parade was a success. Unpopular opinion, but I don't think it was the best parade ever. And the reason I say that is if you take the cars out of the parade, it would have lasted 2 minutes. And I say that because when I was a kid, there were floats upon floats upon floats in the parade. If you were a church, if you were an organization, if you were a business, you had a float and it was full of people. So let's not call this the best parade ever. Let's just call this a good start, and let's build on this. And I would challenge anybody who has a business or a church or an organization to put a float in the parade next year. or even put one in the next parade. That builds community, and that really speaks volumes. To my second thing, a business owner had approached me a couple of weeks ago. They had set out some sidewalk chalk for kids to draw on the sidewalk. I know that we just put millions of dollars into our streetscape. I don't think sidewalk chalk is something that we need to concern ourselves with about complaints. There's a number of other things in town, the facade of dilapidated buildings, weeds growing out of the toilet on the side of Main Street, a number of things that we could address before we talk about sidewalk chalk. I, for one, think it brings life to our town and really brightens things up. This same business owner that set chalk out for kids to draw has done nothing but catch grief and ridicule ever since they've tried to open a business in Sparta. This individual has invested, along with their spouse, a lot of time, a lot of money into relocating here and into opening businesses here. For me, we preach that we want our youth to come back to town. And when they come back to town and open a business, we throw them under the bus and we try to drive them out because we don't agree with their business model. We don't agree with their ideals. We can't do that. That's not the message that I want to send to people. We want our youth to come back, no matter what the business is, as long as it's legal, come back and make money and then spend your money here. That's all I've got.
Yeah.
I think everybody's heard enough from me. Wes?
I just want to compliment the Chamber of Commerce and the town. I thought it was really nice that with the music on Main, they put out the tables, they put out the chairs, they put all those things out for people to be as comfortable as possible. I think it really added to the event, and I just want to thank them.
Yeah, I was really glad to see people out, you know, and then cooped up for a year or so, and people got out and they enjoyed themselves. And to me, I think we're all right. Sparta's back. So, it's nice.
Mr. Mayor, do you have anything that you'd like to add?
I think I've spoken quite a bit tonight, Mayor. I appreciate it.
All right. With that being said, I will entertain a motion to go into closed session by General Statute 143-318.
So moved.
Second.
A motion and a second. All in favor, show of hands. Thank you. At this time, everyone can be dismissed as we go into closed session, except y'all.
We're not.
If you need to get a water break, go ahead. And I've got that.